You guys, welcome back to So Bad It's Good. This whole week or this last week and a half has been just truly incredible. I started with Betches, and I feel like I've been doing one big commercial for Betches, but it's the most honest, forthright commercial that I possibly could do because this place, I think, is just a big piece of gold. And when I talked
Oh,
to our next guest, maybe a year ago, I had such a good vibe, and I had followed her online for a while. And I was shocked that she said yes to doing the program in the first place. And then I had such a great time speaking with her. And it was one of those things my mom always told me to, really pay attention to the people that make you feel good, that inspire you, that make you want to work harder or try to figure out how they work so you can try to be as successful as they are one day. And this person was that for me. And I know this sounds already way too serious, but listen, we're going to talk a lot of pop culture. We're going to talk a lot of everything, but she is one of the founders of Betches. I mean, she is one of the founders, also hosts two amazing podcasts. I was just listening to her daily podcast, Morning Announcements, which is just kind of great. It's like a 6-minute primer of everything you need to know going on politically that day, which I think is just sometimes it's really smart to start your day that way. And then, of course, at Betches, which she co-hosts with the other two founders of Betches. But this place, I've been in this office, and we're going to talk a little bit about it because I think it just really is a magical place. But without further ado, the one, the only, Sami Sage. Sami, thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you. Thank your. Are you a new Godmail fan? Yeah. I honestly, that is just the kindest, most amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for, I mean, I'm so happy to have you in our network and working with you. I followed you for probably like 2 or 3 years now. It must be more. I feel like I've been listening to you since like Sophie Ross started on your
Yeah.
show. And no, I love what you do. And honestly, I will never forget when you first emailed me. Like it must have been a year ago.
Yeah.
And you just sent the kindest email. And I was like, what a mensch. Like this is just, and not just, it wasn't just the email, it felt like a reflection of the person I've been listening to. And you're so kind and humble. And the way that like you brought your mom into the show, and you really have just done, I love what you've made. Like you've made just such a beautiful little corner of the internet. And I'm so
And we're
grateful.
growing, and I'm so glad to grow with
Yeah.
you guys because what I wanted to explain to the audience, and I haven't really been able to fully explain it in detail, but what you guys have set up, you started this company, I believe, what, 2011, is that right?
Yes.
And it's with your college friends, which is
My
just amazing.
childhood friends, like
Childhood friends,
who
sorry.
went to college. Oh, we're also college. I mean, childhood friends who started in college.
Yeah, it
So,
was childhood friends who
yeah,
started in college.
crazy.
And what you've built, it is just wild because when you go to the Betches offices, I mean, just the aesthetic, the design, like you have quotes from The Office. You have a mugshot wall of reality stars like Khloe Kardashian. You have these little rooms that are all labeled like the fish room or, beauty lab and laser. The attention to detail, I just geeked out so hard. It's like going to Comic-Con for pop culture people. And yet there is just this working environment where you guys, it's like this open working space, even though there's like little offices to tuck away in if you need to, but everybody's just out there sitting and rapping and like talking about work. But then you realize, that's what I said yesterday. I said, the work, like people are talking about Vanderpump Rules in here. And then I was like, oh my God, they're talking about stuff I talk about off hours. And then they're like, they're talking about it in regards of working.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's how it all started. And that is why what you're saying about the rooms, like probably the most fun we've had, that like the three of us as like for a work task, was designing this office. Like sitting and brainstorming the rooms was so much fun. And it's it's really like our brain embodied in a design space,
Oh,
and so rarely do you get the chance to do that. It
I was
honestly,
sending
like,
my
yeah.
dad pictures yesterday because he's like a huge office head. And, because even in the studio I'm in now, you have the picture of Michael Scott on vacation with Jan
Yeah.
and the picture on the beach. And I just like those little details. It makes you just really happy. And it's just such a free flowing, and coming from some, like I was doing, I do a lot of this just by myself. So being able, and what I had talked to you about initially was that I wanted to be a part of a team. I wanted to feel like I was a part of a team or working for a greater good in some sense. And I know that sounds ridiculous when it talks about podcasting, but I wanted that feeling, especially to be able to learn from and have something to shoot for. And this place is just perfect for that.
Thank you. I mean, it's interesting you say that because I feel like the trend is more people going out on their own. And I totally understand. Like I
Sure.
totally understand that. But I think that it's kind of different for, whatever your passion is, but the whole beauty of pop culture is talking about it.
Yeah.
It's the, like, analysis of it. It makes it almost, like, academic. It's almost academic to me to talk about pop culture. Like, we could be sitting in a class
Yes.
about the Kardashians. Like, that's how I feel when I listened to you and Emma and Julie yesterday. Was that yesterday's?
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
just listened yesterday.
Yeah.
Talking about it. I'm like, "Thi" and you said it in the beginning, you're like, "This is critical information to understanding our culture."
Yes.
And I totally am with you. It's how we make sense of things, and it's how we make sense of people's values, and it is so much more than just like, look who wore what and that kind
And
of
you
thing.
can really sum up a person based on their pop culture opinions. You can sum up, well, listen, I mean, and I know the obvious example right now, just because we're still coming off the heels of like Scandoval, just really how people responded to that. And I thought it was so interesting. I was talking to Taylor Lorenz yesterday, and she has a great book coming out. And at the end, she wanted to talk.
Extremely online.
Yeah, extremely online. Great book. But she was talking about, she wanted to talk about Vanderpump a little bit. And I'm like, heck yeah, let's talk about Vanderpump. But I thought it was so interesting, even in today's times, where with Vanderpump, it was interesting how people, this was potentially, I mean, this was done to Ariana in a sense. And then even as this went on, you started to see a little bit of a backlash of, well, why does she get all these endorsements? What did she do? She just got cheated on. I got cheated on, and I didn't get any product endorsements. And I thought, how interesting, and what a really interesting mirror on our actual society that we still find a way to blame women at the end of the day.
Oh, totally. I mean, the trends are deeply predictable. Like, and that's what I think if you are a watcher and a spectator in almost the like in the serious way, I think that we are, where we're actually professionally spectating this.
Yeah.
There is you could have predicted that. That was so obvious. What was unpredictable was the reaction because there have been so many affairs on Bravo, even on that show.
Yeah.
And but you couldn't have predicted that it would go as wild and mainstream as it did, where they'd be getting invited to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Like, that is so wild. Like,
But
no.
isn't that great
Yeah.
about pop culture? That's the so bad it's good of it all, is that
Yes.
how ridiculous kind of is this, is that it's this basic thing that does happen to all of us, but it does elevate. And then it elevates not only Ariana, but then it elevates the rest of the cast. You had Lala there. You had Lisa was like, Nicki Lane, I've made it to the White House. Can you believe it? I mean, this was just truly this touchstone moment. After 10 seasons, Lisa Vanderpump is in the same room as a president and dignitaries.
And that was like kind of her destiny
Yeah.
because she,
Yes.
even as like low rent as her stuff went at times, Vanderpump Dogs, she still was like the first person who was like, I'm going to make a space for gay rights before
Yes.
a thing everybody's doing. And I'm going to make
Stop, you
yeah.
lean.
Yes, yes, and exactly, like, that was look, I wouldn't know about that if it wasn't for Lisa Vanderpump. Like,
100%.
she was
100%.
this was always kind of an angle that was open for her. And, well, first of all, I just wanna say, like, when I think of your podcast, I think of the Nicolay.
Yeah.
I can't do it,
By the
but that's
way,
what I
I've
hear in
always
my
this,
head.
and you
Yeah.
guys know I'm silly, and but it's hard because I love to do hard hitting interviews, but I also love to be extremely silly. And my big bit, one of my big bits, is Nicolay. We got to keep an eye on this Nicolay. I think Sandoval and Rachel got to move over because I think eventually it's Nicolay and Lisa Vanderpump.
Look, maybe you wanna do a collab with Nicolay.
Did you know that Nicolay was in the jacuzzi with her girl? Can't believe that. Can't believe it.
Oh God. I mean, okay, I'll honestly, like, everything you're saying, like, when we started, in 2015, when we started, like, the Betches Sup, now Betches News, that whole concept was based in bringing pop culture to serious things that, like, actually affect us.
Yeah.
And that, I feel, is what it's almost, I think, gone the other way, where we now brought serious things into pop culture. And there's now like, I think now we're more conscious of how we speak about women and how we speak about people's bodies and how, even though there was a backlash against Ariana, there is this consciousness that backlash is senseless and
Yeah. At the
irrational.
end of the day, well, that's what I'm saying. You really then are able to pick your people out real quickly. Like you're like, okay, if you think that's ridiculous, then I probably don't mess with you that heavily. But I hope you can come around to my way of thinking, or I think the correct way of thinking at some point. The other thing that I think reality shows have mirrored, or maybe this is the is that since the election and January 6th and things of that nature, online especially, there is this everything is a conspiracy. Everything is a setup. Everything is plotted out, planned. And we got that a lot with Vanderpump Rules this last season, and the fact that people couldn't believe this was real. People were like, no, this is staged. This is all staged. None of it's real. And I felt what a sad testament, because I think we are at that place in the world where everything has gone so batshit crazy in certain ways that we now just assume that we are being lied to and that everything is a ploy to make more money, get better ratings, things of that nature.
Well, the thing is, I don't think those people are wrong on the whole, but I think they're wrong on the specifics. And it is true that celebrities are, I don't want to say manipulating us, but like they're doing their jobs, which is to deploy a public image.
Yeah.
And, I'll give an example of Taylor Swift walking around New York City. She doesn't need to walk around New York City ever. If she disappeared for 6 years, no one knew where she was.
She wants to be seen.
If she's right. And I think that is something that like, and this is, I guess, different with reality shows, but like just speaking about public figures in general, they can choose a lot of times what they put out there. Sometimes they can't. That doesn't mean they're always lying, but it does mean that they're trying to choose what to show and choose not what to show, as every single person on this planet does. We all do it. Even people who have private Instagram accounts, they do that to that's what they do people do in their personal lives. So it's not like that everyone's lying to us to make money. It's that everyone is trying their best and trying to do kind of like, maybe that's not true. My point is, that's not true. Not everyone's trying their best.
Wow.
But not everything is a lie. Everything is a lie. And even things that are lies can have a grain of truth.
Yes.
And it's about being a better buyer and a better consumer of what you're watching. And that's where like it comes to us to like be able to like interpret it and see through things, because celebrities are going to do what they're going to do. You don't have to, you can perceive it as you want.
Well, reality shows and pop culture in general were at such an interesting phase of all of this stuff because of social media and second screen technologies, is that reality shows wouldn't exist in the form that they do today without second screen technology, in the sense of we are in that driver's seat. There was a great book about reality shows by Danielle Lindemann that came out last year, I think called When Reality Hits, but she really is like, reality shows, and Bravo in particular, they live or die by audience reactions online. They live and die by memes. They live and die. And that's why even Vanderpump Rules, by any metric of success, I mean, any metric was a success. If you went on Twitter, if you went on Instagram with the memes, if you went on, I mean, it was a podcasting boom. I mean, I was getting better downloads for Vanderpump Rules than anything else. And the hunger was insatiable for that. And that's an interesting thing. If you go back to like the 1940s and look about movie stars back then, you had like the Tattler or a couple kind of Inquirer things, but the audience, you would sit there and gossip with your girlfriends or your guy friends, but you didn't have it that public where we have our voice heard. And I think sometimes that's a really dangerous thing. And you see the anger that comes from that. I just find it very interesting. And also, where do we go from here in terms of pop culture if we are this in the driver's seat?
Oh, that's a great question. I think what maybe I've noticed, because we're talking big pop culture, household names, real people with, in some cases, talent, in some cases, no talent, whatever. But I think what we're actually seeing because of this, if you, for example, are on like Reddit snark threads, I think what actually this that voice, that ability to like say anything about anyone and everyone puts everything out there. I think that's just created sort of like a new level of celebrity rather than made people. I think that it's kind of just changed the way that things are put out there. Like a celebrity has both their own personal social media and old media placements and strategies like pap walks and that kind of thing that they can use. So I think it's sort of just added like a new dimension for people to put their messages out, and also more democratic types of celebrities. And we're also watching not just household names. We're watching like randoms who are like the popular kids of the internet.
That's the thing that blows my head. It blows my mind. And when I'm on TikTok or trying to be on TikTok, that's sometimes the frustrating thing is that, man, I grew up, you know, we're not going to really have movie stars the way we used to have movie stars anymore. There's only a handful of people, and I would almost say musically more than anything else, that are going to have those kind of stranglehold grips like Taylor Swift, like Beyonce, but other, like, you know, or soccer or football players, like soccer players, things like that. But in terms of I keep using this example of talking to my nephew last month, and I was saying, what's your favorite movies? Da da da. And he's like, I don't really watch movies. I watch YouTube. I watch my phone. Movies kind of boring. Da da da. And I was like, wow. There's a potential that art form dies. Everybody will always be making movies, but in terms of like the theater going experience without Marvel, I mean, these things are something to like, just because something was heralded at one point, remember, you know, like Rome fell. Like this is not promised to us. So you got to really put your time and energy into what you love. But that's why Taylor Swift, and I know you're a huge Swiftie, it's so impressive how she has managed to like lasso this energy. Like her fans did 33 million puzzles the other day to release the titles of 3 bonus tracks or 4 bonus tracks.
5. And honestly, Ryan,
how many did you do? Like 1 million?
Here's the thing. I couldn't get it to work. I wanted to do more puzzles, but I couldn't get them. It was glitching. Whatever. I was not enough of a contributor to the puzzle doing as I wanted to be because of Google
It didn't
failure.
matter. They were done in less than a day. Like that's how 33 million puzzles.
I mean, this wouldn't work for every fandom. Swifties are puzzlers. It's just who we are. We're looking for Easter eggs. People are making connections. They're counting the days between October 2022 and October 2027. It's just like we're crazy a little bit. And I'm not even like amongst that level. Like I can't go there. Like I know I'm really.
I feel like you're at a pretty big level in terms of fandom, and you can't even go to that level for Taylor.
I mean, I love her. I'm really most interested in like her work. Like I love her work and how it ties into her life. I
like her work ethic. I like her work ethic is insane. Like I would love to watch, like, does she just like not sleep and just like got it right?
I once heard this story that John Mayer, like she once like wrote a song like right in front of him, and he called her, I don't know if this is the proper term to use, like a songwriting savant. And she is just wild. And like where I'm living with her is like, I love analyzing her music in I guess concert with what she's doing and what she must be like feeling. And like, it's just so about the
she
things
must
that
just
are
be
happening.
like a live wire. She's like all just nerves, all emotion, all nerves. Like she must just feel things so deeply. And I love the thought of that, because sometimes I can't access my own emotions. So to like really champion somebody that seems to be able to acknowledge their emotions and then be able to make commerce on top of that, that's wild.
She is. I just think I totally agree with you. Her work ethic, the way that she like gives back, and it's just, she is really good for what Lana Del Rey would call the culture. I think that she is just like, I just have no words for it. And okay, I will say something else, that I don't know if these things are tied together, but you were just saying how the the movie going experience might go away. I was so thinking the opposite. And I don't know if you, and I'll tell you why I was thinking it this way. So you know how they are now going to restart talks on the writers' strike?
Yeah. So actually, there I was going to bring that up. Is that last night they're on Threads and Twitter and all that stuff? They said that we might be coming near an end of the Writers Guild Actors Guild strike.
So what I think happened is that they saw Taylor Swift do this direct deal with AMC Theaters.
Yeah, explain what she's doing with the movie.
So basically, like, if she wanted to go, the Eras Tour movie, she basically did a direct deal with AMC Theaters and with just theaters in general that it would go. She's distributing it. She's making it, and it's going straight to them.
You guys, usually that's where Warner Brothers or Universal, they are distributors. They are a movie house that take the product and then push that out to movie theaters. So Taylor Swift cut out that distributor entirely. She's solely putting this out.
Yes, exactly. And this is, she cut out the distributor. And I think that really freaked the studios out because they were like, wait, anyone who could afford to make a movie could just make a deal with AMC. Anyone. We could do it.
Yeah.
Literally. And I think that was like, we're not needed. We're middlemen. We're skimming off the top. Anyone with a fucking camera and a good idea can make a movie and sell it to AMC. And that, I think, was where it would go, to be honest. I think it still could go that way. And so I think they're really afraid of that because they're now realizing, shit.
Well, you guys, they're projecting over $100 million weekend box office. So the Taylor Swift Eras movie will make on par with what a Marvel movie would do. I mean, granted, that's not going to happen for everybody. You can't have like some independent musician right now going out there making millions of dollars in a movie theater. But Taylor Swift is able to do that and put people in seats.
Exactly. And I think that this is another reason I'm like really, really into her these days. And it's not even about her music. Like, I've started learning more about how she did her business, how she's like run her whole Taylor Swift.
Yeah, so like I geek out on you in terms of business. You geek out on her.
Yeah. And honestly, I geek out on her because we kind of did something a little bit similar. Not entirely. Obviously, these are like different businesses, but it's kind of, I think, like if I were Taylor Swift, I would do exactly what she did. And we kind of have done a little bit of what she did, where it's like, you are the owner of your business. And she has all of her stuff is done internally, like her touring, she has the record label, but as much of it, her management, her touring, her merch, actually, I think she might do her merch contracted, but all of it, my point is that all of it is run as a small business internally. It's all super tight. The PR is internal, the management, all of her projects are run internally, and she is the sole owner. So when she says, I'm going to pay out bonuses of 50 million
to the drivers,
she's literally taking what is her profit, hers, and she is saying, give that to that's an after business expense that I believe is how she goes about these things. And look, she's not doing anything stupid. She's still making plenty of money.
She has the money to do this, but also the goodwill that buys, the thought that it gives in the audience head of like, you're so then like on, like you're never not on her side with the decisions that she makes usually.
Well, people have plenty to say about her. I'm not, she's not perfect. No one's perfect, but she is she could be, I think she could or will be a billionaire who actually makes the thing that made her a billionaire.
Yeah.
And I think that is what's so impressive to me. Like, she's not Elon Musk making $1 billion on, because I said it's worth $1 billion, or like Donald Trump doing.
Yeah, not imaginary valuation.
Yeah. She makes music that there is enough demand for to make her this money. And I think that she doesn't want to be a billionaire. I think she knows that label is like, it goes in the private jet world.
Kim wants to be a billionaire.
Yes.
Kim gunned for
Kylie wants to be called a billionaire.
But isn't it interesting? And I always and I'm not saying this in a mean way, but it's like when you don't have a craft, money is your craft.
Yes,
money is the thing that you want to be good at. And Taylor has a craft. There is a craft, a foundation, which she can launch anything from, because no matter what happens in the stock market, no matter what happens, she will always be able to write music.
She is recession proof. And
yes,
and honestly,
she breaks recessions. Every town she goes into, she pumps money into that economy.
Literally, that's what makes her my hero. Like, there's more to it than, and the other piece is that as much as she was branded as a pop star, and she has amazing style, and she has amazing, her performance is amazing, her vocals, like she's so at the top of her game. what I love about her is that she is at her heart a writer. And like that is where I connect to her, like just the ability to convey, to express through the written word is what's to me like, that's where I really am like, you are just, I am obsessed with her because of that.
What did you think of Taylor at the VMAs? Now, she got a lot of memes made of her about this because, you know, she was there to get a bunch of awards, obviously. The MTV Awards, I hate to break it to everybody, it's, you know, it's, you kind of know if you're going to get an MTV Music Award. You're not showing up there hoping and it doesn't happen. But she's there. She's sitting next to her, one of what it feels like a protege at this point, Ice Spice. And she is having the time of her life. It looks like she's having some vodka sodas, dancing and singing to Demi Lovato, to every song, freaking out about NSYNC. And just, I mean, you know, truly looking like she's having the time of her life. What did you think about Taylor at the VMAs?
I mean, this is her. She's been like this at like tons of award shows.
Yeah,
this
it's not
is not
new.
like new behavior.
She's a fan of music.
Oh, right. She's an artist. You know, she's, and I think that I think right now what we're seeing is an added level of confidence. Like she doesn't need, I mean, she is at the peak of validation, but I do think that she has like come into herself in a new way. And I think that's what we're watching and why it read as like fun and entertaining rather than in the past people would be like, oh, she's so cringe. Also, the culture has evolved and people are, it's just like not cool to make fun of people, to yuck people's yums.
Well, unless they're reality stars, and then it's actually very cool to make
fun of people. Like, I mean, make fun of people who are being genuine.
Yeah, that's what I always say, is that if you love something, like I might not love it, but man, I will fight to protect your love of anything. Like, you know, be cringe all you want, man. Like I love loving something. You know how much more fun it is to love something than to hate something. You know how much better it makes you feel to get excited about something. That's like the part of being in these offices. I wanted to be here because it's like I wanted to feel excitement. I wanted to feel something that made me want to wake up in the morning and just be like, heck yeah, I get to do this today. And if you love Taylor Swift, or if you love my favorite, Counting Crows, or if you don't listen to anybody that makes fun of that stuff, be secure in your choices because it made your heart feel good, then that's good.
Look, you are right, but what you're saying is like a mentally healthy perspective, and I think the people who just like hold bitterness are not they don't get the feels from being inspired, or maybe they haven't found that thing, or they're maybe not in that place where they can like feel that, and they kind of have to be haters. But no, you know, it's funny that you say this, Counting Crows. I wouldn't say Counting Crows falls into this genre, but my husband and I we like to listen to what we call shitty music. And we have a playlist called the Shitty Playlist. And it's like Nickelback and Daughtry and Creed.
Yeah.
And we like listen to all, like, we're like, okay, well, let's listen to the Shitty Playlist. And like, because we like it, you know?
The Shitty Playlist. Wait, what kind of night constitutes listening to the Shitty Play?
It's usually in the car.
Okay.
It's a car playlist, and then we'll scream the words. But also we do this too with like diners. Like we like a shitty diner, like the less fancy the diner, the like older and like more greasy the diner,
the
thumbs
better.
up. Yes. Like it's like you want that. You want it because of that.
Look at this photograph.
Yes.
Like, no, there's like a handful of Nickelback songs that I still love to this day.
They're good.
But it is interesting in terms of pop culture, how things are cyclical, where these things come back around. It's just that, you know, I guess one of the only good things about getting older is that you see how life comes back around, how you have to like, and that's the other thing is that I always talk about this thought of like, did I just fall asleep for 12 years recently and just wake up? Because all of these things that I used to love disappeared and are coming back around. I mean, including, and a lot of people, NSYNC. NSYNC is potentially coming back around. They're on Hot Ones today, the YouTube eating hot wings show. And they're, of course, leading up to a song in the Trolls sequel. Were you an NSYNC girl? What are your feelings on this? And I think it's interesting that it comes at a time where Justin Timberlake took a lot of hits, obviously, in the last couple of years in the press. You know, I always think, is this genuine? It looks like they're all like getting along with each other and having fun, but you want a reuniting of anything to be based upon real feelings and really wanting to, and not commerce.
Yeah, I was an NSYNC fan I don't care right now. I'm like,
What
okay.
happened to you, Sami? What happened to you?
I just because like it doesn't feel
genuine.
Not genuine. It just doesn't feel like, I don't know. It feels so. I guess how else would they do it? I just don't find it to be interesting. I don't think there's anything like interesting about, okay, we're reuniting for a song because Justin Timberlake was flopping.
In the truck.
Like let's be like, it would be one thing if Justin Timberlake were at the height of his career and he said, I want to do a collab with my former bandmates. That would be interesting to me. Because that would be a cool performance that I want to watch. Not like Justin Timberlake gets desperate and
well, I mean, listen, that's how
we do like a lame song. Like it just, yeah.
Well, I mean, I would be interested in terms of if they would actually decide to tour. And I would imagine if they did, it would be a Justin Timberlake concert that NSYNC appears multiple times throughout. I just don't think he would give up that power. I don't think he would give up the power to just do an NSYNC only tour.
Right. And that would be cool if he were like interesting right now.
But this is what's interesting about pop culture is that they're trying to find these ways. Who's their manager? Johnny Wright, I believe. And, you know, they're finding these ways in terms of digital and like Hot Ones, the MTV, you know, these things. And they're trying to work around the strike because they can't promote the Trolls movie. So they're finding these ways to show that we're back. But even Lance and Joey, you know, they look like they got in shape in the last 6 months. This looks like it's been on the agenda for a minute. Except we need to hold JC down and cut his hair. That's my only ask of all of this.
I mean, Lance and Joey didn't disappear. They were never out entirely. Like, it's not like they had disappeared into oblivion.
But I'm talking about their like Masked Singer kind of part of their career. Like Lance has a podcast, things like that. Instead of you were one of the biggest boy bands in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Lance has kind of always been. He's always following in Kris Jenner's wake. You know, he's around. He's been on Vanderpump.
He married Jackson Britney, for the love of God.
Okay, yeah, like Lance Bass is around. I think Lance Bass was like, if anything, he was like the hook that made this possible because he had stayed barely relevant. It's not just Justin Timberlake and his like unknowns.
But I would love to have them come back and then, you know, Lance be able to even talk more about his experience of being one of the first openly gay boy band members.
Well, honestly, I think Lance Bass is the person who's going to make this way more interesting to me. Has more potential to make this interesting than Justin Timberlake.
But isn't it interesting when Taylor had that reaction at the VMAs when she went up to accept the award for her video and she was like, oh my God, you guys need to do something. The way she threw goodwill at them and then that video of her singing to Demi Lovato's Heart Attack.
That's a great fucking song. Who can't?
Oh my God. That song is such a bop. But the fact Demi needed that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like she needed that where her streaming shot up after that night and Taylor followed her the next day on Instagram. They re-followed each other. I don't know if but like Taylor giving that goodwill to these people that she, you know, kind of came up with in a certain way really helps them in terms of the pop culture sphere, which I found fascinating.
I mean, that's what I mean when I say she's an artist. Like, if I were Taylor Swift, I would have freaked out if I saw NSYNC in front of my eyes presenting me an award too. Like as a 1989 born girl. That's just how I would have freaked out. But my point is more about like it. Okay, another reason I'm a little skeptical about it is because Britney Spears has a book coming out in a month.
Yes, Pieces of Me, correct?
Yes, October 23rd. And is this not a convenient distraction that will have the conversation about whatever Britney has to say in this book about Justin into Britney says stuff about Justin and Justin is part of the NSYNC comeback. Like none of it was accidental, as Taylor Swift would say.
This is a cut to the meme of Charlie from It's Always Sunny. Like this connects to this connects to this. It all connects.
It's not even that it necessarily like connects. It's that if any celebrity is doing something, because they're already like rich enough, and they're all someone like them, they're already they don't need money. They don't need to like pay their next bill. And I'm not talking about like the lesser members of NSYNC. I'm talking about like Justin Timberlake and just most people we would talk about here. If they're doing something, there's a reason. And sometimes the reason is that they don't want you to see something else. That's often, I think, a strong reason why people do stuff. And that's kind of like what I'm always like, well, what's the other thing they don't want you to see?
And also, who is in charge? I mean, like, do you think somebody like, we can only speculate, somebody like Justin Timberlake is really gaming this out for the next year? Or do you think his management is gaming this out of like, listen, we took the temperature on Twitter and it's not going well for you this last year, Justin, and we need really something. And we got to also keep our eye on Britney's book. We got to keep our eye. Janet's coming back on tour. We got to keep our eyes on these things.
I don't know if things are said in those words. Succession, you watch Succession. Yeah.
Which, by the way, Rupert Murdoch, peace out, buddy.
Bye.
And Lachlan, I hope you would take a back seat as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. But okay. So, how, or also Kathy Hilton is a good example of this. How people who are like of a certain class or status or position of power, they say things, but they don't say them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's how those conversations are had.
Yeah. Just head shakes. Shakes, winks.
Illusions.
You know that. You know how they are.
But like not even that explicit. Like I think that I can't do it because I've never had to do it. You'll know that's when you made it, when you can speak about nothing, about everything with no words. Yeah. And that's how I think those conversations are had. I imagine someone of Justin Timberlake's stature is having like regular strategy. I don't know if he's there.
Well, think about it in terms of our own careers. I was talking about like how I came to be here and I'm like, I'm getting older. This is something I found later in life that I love to do, that I have a passion. But for Justin Timberlake, all he's known is, he had that period of time with those guys working his butt off, getting taken advantage of by Lou Pearlman. And then they hit so big. Then also, obviously it's between him and JC to do that solo breakout. He breaks out, which now we see Harry Styles, who broke out from One Direction, but he did it. And those first two Justin albums were insane. I mean, just in terms of popularity, you could not escape this guy. Cry Me a River. Are you kidding me? And then into Sexy Back. Sexy Back was almost deemed like a Prince song. It was like that funky. But then after that, you had the 2020 Experience and then Man in the Woods. And then these things start popping back up from his history in terms of Britney and Janet. And I would think like with anybody's career, when you start to hit or see middle age ahead of you, like we don't know what it's like to be a pop star. We will never know. We know what it's like in our own lives, and there's a lot of pressure, but imagine having so much success and then starting to feel like you are losing it, but also getting older on top of that, because getting older will mess your head no matter what you do for a living and no matter how successful you are. But imagine realizing like, well, what is, it's like Forrest Gump, what is my destiny, mama? Like Justin must be like, it must be a mind fuck.
Yeah, well, that's why I think that, and okay, here's the difference. Justin has advisors. Justin has people who are keeping track, who are watching this for him. Justin, it's not like we who are like thinking to ourselves, maybe asking people around us like for their feedback. Like he has people who are making money off of him, and like he's probably their biggest client. So they're thinking about this just as much as he is my assumption.
Yeah.
And they know that that's their job, like regardless of whether he is big or, I don't think it's like, oh, he has a contract and then it ends and he's like off on his own. Like, I think he's been with the same manager. I would assume he's been with the same teams for a few times. And I don't think he's like ending those contracts with them. And I don't know. I think this makes sense for him because it gives people like a nostalgic feeling rather than like a messed up feeling about his past.
And I think that's what you want to hit, is that nostalgia. Nostalgia can be such a powerful tool because it's based on what we talked about earlier, love. Love will always trump hate. It's not going to like feel like that at first, but when you can lead somebody towards love, and I know that sounds so corny, you're going to be that's a force multiplier in so many ways.
I mean, if you even want to bring it into like a more dark realm sociologically, it's like nostalgia. The love that you feel from nostalgia is often used to couch hate, to couch the hate of a previous time. in nostalgia so that you feel really good, or the people who, certain people feel really good about it and others don't, and that's what I think is, I think that is an interesting kind of weaponized use of nostalgia.
Weaponized use of, I love that.
It can be weaponized.
That
I
needs
will
to be on
say
a t-shirt. Weaponized use of nostalgia. But by the way, Taylor Swift, though, when I think about her future, it's the only time where I would almost be like, once again, she wins, because in my head, like once she did, not Evermore, but
Folklore.
Once she did Folklore, and I was like, oh, she's like almost like mellow alternative now. Like she's almost like she did the Bon Iver track, and I was like, holy crap! Like she could do theater. She could do, like, I mean, she hasn't even hit the Carole King part of her career. She could do a doo-wop group at this point, and she, like, the sky's the limit. How old is she? Like 32?
33, going to be 34.
I mean, like, you guys don't realize, if you think about pop culture, there's never been anybody that's had this kind of power for this long, and it still keeps growing. That's why it's interesting to compare her to people like the Kardashians, when their skill is themselves and money, when somebody out there actually does have wares to sell, and the wares they sell is something that they deeply love. She could go anywhere. She could literally go anywhere.
She could write a book. She could direct.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
start a record
50s,
label.
60s, 70s, we will have this entire future. In fact, this is what's so great about the Betches offices. Yesterday, I was talking to some of your staff, and I said, this is great. You get to have these conversations that I've been wanting to have. Like, hey, how could Taylor Swift blow it? Like, how could Taylor Swift blow it in any way right now? And my thing was like, well, I was like, if she dated Trump, could she blow it? And then we even said,
it's like, she wouldn't.
She might actually bring people around, be like, you know what? Through her eyes, I really like him. Through her eyes, he's kind of sexy. Through her eyes.
No, here's the thing. She wouldn't. I think the only way she would blow it would be if she's like, I am done working. I want to leave the public eye. And that's not blowing.
But that's not even blowing it.
She wrote about that choice in The Lucky One on Red. Just saying.
Which, by the way, one of the vault tracks that they did the 3 million puzzles for, it's called Sluts. Did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, my guess is that's going to be like a turnaround of how people called her that
because of all the guys that she dated and they made fun of her for.
Yeah, or just the way slut is weaponized against women. That's gotta be what it is.
Do you have 10, 15 more minutes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I know this is very Taylor heavy, but man, she's like the best thing to talk about. A couple more Taylor things though. I just want to we can intellectualize this until we're blue in the face, but you actually went to the Eras tour in Los Angeles. And by the way, when I see Sami next, I did make her a friendship bracelet. I was going to see her around that Taylor time, and it says baddie on it, or baddies on it. So I actually made a bracelet. That's how manly I am. I made a bracelet for Sami Sage.
That's how confident you are in your masculinity. That's what the truth
That's exactly what but by the way, I have these big, large meat hook hands, and I was trying to string. I've never made a bracelet before in my life. It's hard. Really hard. And I kept losing the little beads. And I was like, how are these women doing this for these shows?
Oh, labor of love.
So how was the experience? Because you looked like you had a blast.
It was unreal. I will tell you, I'm so sorry I didn't get to see you, because I was honestly really I was very unwell.
I had
left
a feeling
LA a day early.
You might have had too good of a time potentially.
No. I was sick at the tour. Like, I really didn't feel well at the concert. And
I think Taylor Swift could heal you. Like, you would have just taken the sickness out of your body.
I mean, yeah, like during the
during the 3.5 hours. Yeah.
During the 3.5 hours, I was like, okay, I don't want to leave, but I definitely was thinking like, I wish I felt better, because this would be better if I felt better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and I just felt so terribly. Like, first of all, there's nowhere I want to be more than I want to be in LA. Like, I love LA for vacation. I don't know how I'd like living.
I'm there. Like that with New York right now. There's nowhere that I want to be in New York.
I love LA. And like, the idea of leaving LA a day early pained me so much, but I needed to get home. I felt so shitty. So it sucks. But the tour.
Yeah, the tour.
It's insane. It is. I hate when people describe things that are not a religious experience as a religious experience, but I do feel that is the vibe. And it's just I think I don't know what to compare it with. Watching someone who is just so incredibly talented, such a grounded and like incredible performer
At the top of their
and
game.
at the top of their game, who they're having the best time, and they never want to stop doing this.
Yeah, she
That is
unapologetically loves what she does, and most people don't love what they do, and that's weird to see. So it's something that you're like, wow, because even everybody keeps saying to me, it's like 3.5 hours where they're like, I was exhausted, and she kept going. Like I had to sit down, and she kept going.
Oh, for sure. Oh no, there was like I was sitting down during like the surprise songs because they're slower, and
That's slower.
and like yeah, I mean, I think it is special. She is a special person.
How many times did you cry?
At the
Honestly.
Okay, I didn't cry when I went in LA. I cried when I went the first time at the Rain show. I cried probably twice.
Oh wait, you were at the Nashville Rain show?
No, I was at the Gillette Rain show.
Oh, okay.
And I loved it. I wonder if this was because I was like not feeling well, but I loved the Rain show. I thought it was so cool. And I'm not like a person who deals with discomfort well. Like this is not me to want to stand in the rain for anything, but it was just so incredible. And the effects and the choreography and the way she makes it's because it's a huge stadium, but the show is not just made for the people who are in the first level. There's a different experience that you can see. So even if you have the worst seat, you are still getting an incredible show.
I see that with Beyonce too. Like the way they viewed the way they put these shows together, that even when I'm looking at it online, the nosebleed seat still looks beautiful.
Right. Like you're getting an amazing show that is different than the people who are sitting lower. And it's not worse. It's just farther. But it is so, so, so amazing to take in the whole stadium because we were sitting up higher during the Rain show. I was on the floor during the LA show. And it's just a completely different experience.
Which song did you cry?
Which song? Marjorie. Marjorie is when she sings at her grandmother. I want to think. I didn't cry during All Too Well.
I like that you said that like that's the normal one people cry at, but I kept it together.
No. I guess I don't know if people cry during that. What's in Champagne Problems, the like standing ovation and like looking at her face, looking at the crowd. I have just turned me into like a sap.
Yeah. But that's good. Feel your emotions. If you can't feel it sometimes in your own personal life, feel them through art and all of that jazz. I wanted to jam this in before we leave here, though. Taylor Swift, like you said, is in the streets of New York, and I'm so angry because on Monday, after my first day at the Betches office, I was taken out to dinner to celebrate at a restaurant called Via Carota. And said, oh, really good Italian food. It was raining in New York. It was a really special day. And there was a couple of times sitting outside and I noticed what looked like Secret Service men, which also like Biden was in town too, and Zelensky and all the stuff at the UN was happening. So I was like, oh, maybe they're coming.
Village.
And then the next night, I don't know if these two things are connected. The next night, this Taylor Swift is at Via Carota with Sophie Turner, who is now in the process of getting a divorce with Joe Jonas, that's the photo we saw yesterday, posted in every like pop culture, account ever, was the photo of Sophie Turner and Taylor Swift. I was in the same area just 24 hours earlier.
Honestly, she goes there a lot, I think that is one of her spots. It's hard to get into, so it's not the kind of place we can, just kind of go. Obviously, she can get in there anytime, but that's a spot for her. She's always in the West Village. I am like, when do I get to?
That's right. I could just be walking around, but that's the crazy thing. I was at Pastis by myself on Saturday, and I had the French onion soup, which I love. And then Andy Cohen and Amy Sedaris were there later that night. And then I was walking around. I saw Malcolm Gladwell, the writer. He was running around the neighborhood. I was like, this is amazing. And if I could see Taylor Swift right now, that would be huge. And then what do you say to her? Do you say, hey, do you listen to podcasts? Like, what do you watch Bravo? What would you say to Taylor Swift?
I would probably just like scream and turn around and run away. Actually, like I would be too afraid. I would be like, this can't be the time I meet you. Like this can't be.
It's not right. This is not right.
No,
This is
I'm
not
not
how I
wearing
pictured
the
it.
right outfit. Like I can't walk up to you. I don't know what I would say. I'd be like, we're born in the same year. I don't fucking know. Like, you know.
We're born. Some lady just came up to me and said, "We're born in the same year," and then ran.
Yeah, I would actually. I think if I saw her, I'd be like, and I would. I can picture I would run in the opposite direction because I would be so. I can't even think about it.
Yeah, it upsets my stomach to think about. But it was so she had this dinner with Sophie Turner, and then today we just got hit with news that Sophie Turner is making some moves in the divorce proceedings where she is petitioning to have the kids over there with her overseas in England. And I'm like, well, which by the way is like, did Taylor give her this idea at dinner the other night? Like, it's just on the tail end of this.
I had the same thought, but then I was like, there's no way that wasn't in motion with the lawyers at least a few days earlier. Yeah. But Sophie hasn't said anything. Even the pop up with Taylor Swift is just, we're friends. You know, I went out with my friend for dinner. But I just saw something on Pop Crave that said that Sophie Turner found out through the media that Joe Jonas had filed for divorce. And that's in her new court documents that she
filing from divorce. It now seems like this competition, like who does it first. Ariana Grande and Dalton Gomez, they supposedly filed, they said at the same time on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Drew and Ralph, if you guys watch that show, they supposedly raced to the courthouse to file, and Drew beat Ralph. But what is it all of a sudden with the race to file to be the first one? And I just think that's interesting.
Do you think I don't know enough about like family law to say that maybe there's like a legal implication, but my feeling is that's probably more about who says what, who gets what in the headline, what order are your names. So and so filed for divorce.
Weirdly, I guess
it's critical. It's really, this is their lives. They're public figures.
But I mean, are you reading a paper and going like, I was an Ariana Grande fan until I figured out Dalton filed first. And now, I mean, by the way, there's other things to be upset with Ariana about, but
it all adds to an impression. Yeah. And it all adds to a certain narrative combined with other things that they have people who they're paying so much money to game out those implications. I don't know what they are because I don't know every factor they're considering. I don't know what the facts are. But there's just no way that it's like there's no way that they're doing it just to do it.
I mean, what do you think Joe Jonas, when he like flips on Instagram or wherever, he sees that picture of Taylor and Sophie? What do you think? I mean, his stomach did. I mean, I would have been like,
have you ever seen something like that makes you feel the way you think that Joe Jonas felt?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
That's how he felt.
But that's what it's amazing. Like, and do you think he calls Kevin? Do you think which Joe bro do you think he called? Do you think he calls bonus Joe bro? Like, who do you think he calls to be like, guys, I need you guys right now because this is not fair?
I think he calls an employee. I don't think he calls a family member. Like, I think he calls someone who he pays.
But like, I always think of the Jonas Brothers. Like, I don't know. For me, I never had like a Joe Bro moment.
Me
but
either.
It is. By the way, I love watching all the women on my feed and the dudes that go to the Joe Bro stadium concerts, and they seem really excited. So I'm happy for them. But I always think of them not as a non-factor, but just something as non-dramatic. So it's interesting to watch this happen, where it's like, oh, well, shit, we're really going to do this. This is gonna be contentious now.
Right. I mean, Joe Jonas, and I'm not the first person to have this sentiment, went from like, I have no opinion, no thoughts, seems like a cool guy because I think Sophie Turner is cool.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, ooh, there's some like weird insecurity. Some things are not great. And I don't know what is.
They're going to make the most intense Jonas Brothers album ever. A divorced Jonas Brothers album.
Can Sophie have any musical talent?
I mean, wouldn't it be great if Taylor puts Sophie on a bonus track for 1989?
Right. Like, or maybe she has like a speaking part. Like, you know how sometimes she'll put a speaking part in, I don't think it'll be on 1989, maybe it'll be on Reputation. because I think she's in the middle of doing that.
When
Like,
will
you know,
Taylor release us from buying these Taylor's version? I mean, like, it's amazing, but I mean,
by the end of the, I think it'll be done by the end of the tour.
take that, Scooter.
You know,
By the way, I'm going to Stockholm to see her in May.
I
My
want to go to
first time.
Stockholm.
My buddy and his husband bought me a ticket and said, "Hey, come on out." And I was like, you know what? I'm just like, why I couldn't get tickets, you know, in the States, but I was like, yeah. Then I was like, is there something? Is it weird? There's part of me that got like, as an American, should I see her over here? And then I was like, no, it'll be amazing anywhere.
No. I no. That's not. It's not my brand of patriotism.
Yeah, it's Taylor made in America. Damn it.
Yeah. No, I want to go to Stockholm too. That's what I have my eyes on as like my, you know, possible my next stop is Stockholm, because I think I want to go. I think it's like kind of the most like economically feasible. And also, I think I've never been there, so it's cool.
I was already pitching ideas to the Betches team. I was like, you know, I'm there, I'm making videos there, weird guy at the Taylor concert in Stockholm. I interview the stuff. I'm like, because I think what a great experience that would be in just terms of how overseas, how they perceive Taylor and how they consume pop culture, which is, you know, I think she's one of those one of those lightning rods where it is global, which I think is fascinating.
I mean, it's just about it's music. It hits you.
Yeah. And I've taken so much of your time. Thank you so much, Sami. But finally,
Ryan, I do want to just add one more thing.
Yeah.
Just one more prediction. So pretend that you didn't try to go out. One more prediction I have, speaking of Taylor Swift and her American concerts. She has scheduled the final Eras show to be 2 days before the 2024 presidential election. And I think that was purposeful.
Where is that at? It's
in Indiana.
Oh, which will be a battleground state. Won't that be?
Indiana's like, I think it's, you know, it has potential to be.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty red, but like, I don't believe I think all red states are, not all, many red states are voter suppressed states.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Gerrymandering at its finest.
Yeah. So I think that was an interesting choice for her, especially because
I didn't even notice that.
And yes, and yesterday was, I think, National Voter Registration Day, and she posted for that. So I think there's an angle.
Wouldn't it be insane? I was thinking about this in terms of the puzzles. If Taylor just tricked the audience and said, "Hey, I'm asking you guys to all come out and vote which album I should release next," and then she gets everybody, you got to register here, just totally. But then it's just actually you're voting in the presidential election. I think that would be amazing. She uses that power, and then like one of the things on the ballot is her album.
A polling place.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't that be incredible? Because she
early
could do
voting at the Taylor Swift shows.
Oh, wow. I mean, that would be. But 33 million people solved the 33 million puzzles in less than a day. Are you kidding me?
Maybe she should fucking run.
I mean, like, no joke. Well, Howard Stern did. Oh, you have to be 35, right?
No, she'll be 35 in 2025, though.
Howard Stern did this thing a long time ago where he almost ran. Well, he started running for mayor of New York, I believe. And then he said, you know what? If I win, I'm just going to give it to the guy that I'll hand it over to some guy I trust. But he had the popularity at this time that he was considered a real contender. And Taylor Swift, if she decided to do something like that, I know we all laugh and we go, that's ridiculous. But politics right now are ridiculous. So why couldn't something like that happen?
I mean, I don't think it would happen because I don't think she wants to. And I think that like people would come after her like she doesn't have an education, like she doesn't have that. She's not educated for that. But in terms of reality of competence, hiring ability, good planning, good messaging, ability to engage people, she's better than anyone we have. She's more honest than anyone we have. She is, you don't have to force her to part with a dollar. And just like, she's good for the culture.
Yes, good for the culture. Which I wanted to end with on morning announcements. You were talking about something politically in terms of dress code in government right now. Is that you know, because this John Fetterman dresses comfy casual. I think he's like an old Navy man like myself. And I don't really care because I think politics are so ridiculous now anyways. And it's like, I don't care if you put on a suit and tie. You guys are all ridiculous. It doesn't, if you put on a suit or tie at this point, why are we even like, Lauren Boebert's giving hand jobs at Beetlejuice. Why do we care? Would you, and by the way, there is not have you ever thought about having a dress code at the Betches offices? That's what I was going to.
No.
Exactly. Who cares?
I mean, first of all, like all of that just offends my sensibilities. Like personally, like the idea of, I know that there are like positive things in the idea of dress code, but like for me, it is so offensive. It is so opposite who I am. The concept of a dress code, and just forget that. Sure, John Fetterman is wearing hoodies and basketball shorts. Wasn't it cool when Mark Zuckerberg did it? Everyone thought it was so badass when the guy who controls all of our fucking news feeds was doing it. So John Fetterman, what's the problem with him? Here's my other question. If they want to institute a dress code, you know, like weddings have a dress code.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not against it for like a respect reason. If they want to institute a dress code, act like people who fucking deserve.
That's what I'm saying. You're all of a sudden concerned with decorum? Like all of a sudden decorum is a part. Is this going to be? Are we going to fight the culture wars in terms of what we dress like in politics?
100 people.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're fighting for the rights of women. You're fighting, like, really, that's what we're concerned with. If somebody shows up in basketball shorts, like I feel like once again, we always just look in the wrong direction. And I do think sometimes both parties are guilty of this. But my God, one of the stupidest things I heard today on your morning announcements was that. And I just thought, how funny in the same week of that Beetlejuice Lauren Boebert thing, which I was talking about this last night too, is that in the old days, you would do something like that and you would have to quit. You would resign. And now it's just commonplace. We are now making it commonplace to give hand jobs at Broadway shows.
Right. As an elected official. Like not a high school teenager.
She's making it cool.
Right. It's just,
and vaping.
Right. As again, you're an elected official. You're a public figure. It's just completely. It's like, yeah, you're going to, and I said this in the morning announcements. It's like, you want to maintain that illusion after you defended people who came to the Senate floor on January 6th dressed like a fucking clown. Like you've already blown this up. You've blown this up. You have lost your chance to claim decorum when you thought it was acceptable and defended those people who showed up that day smashing the Capitol. It's like, okay,
we need Timberlake's people to talk to some of these people and actually get a plan that makes sense, because none of this makes sense. It's like the messaging is all over the place, and that's what I almost view it as pop culture now because it's so ridiculous. Reality stars don't even act like this. If you saw Jax Taylor vaping and feeling up a girl's boobs, you would be like, he's still doing that in the 10th season? It would just blow you off your coal mining ass. Insane.
Yeah, no, it is all overlapped. It used to be that like reality show is entering politics. Now it's politics is entering reality show. It's all one thing now. It's all just clown show. Clown show on Crazy Street.
Where you can listen and follow and read all about the clown show is everything to do with Betches, which is my new home. I hope we can one day have the Betches Awards, because we need like, I have 30, the Betches, exactly. I mean, I'm already thinking of so many different awards that we can give out. But Sami, thank you for being one of the people that created such an amazing work environment. And everybody from Sean to Anna, everybody has been just so amazing. And I keep thanking people and they're like, it's my job. And I'm like, no, but it's really wild to all of a sudden deal with people that are actually just passionate about what they do and trying to make something a success. So thank you, Sami. And I hope you'll come back, because we just tip of the iceberg here.
Anytime. I love this. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So anytime you want me, I am here.
Well, okay, we'll talk to you next week. Bye. Oh, guys, morning announcements at Betches. The new episode will be out, or there's already a new episode out, and morning announcement every day. Make sure you subscribe and rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I know that sounds ridiculous because you're like, why would it come? No, we need those things. And also the sponsors. Go support the sponsors. And that is it. And we will talk to you next time, Sami.
Thank you.